there's a difference between Flume and Kafka and Spark Streaming. Let us try to understand what is the difference between them. So we know about Flume, that is uh, Flume. So it has something called a source, channel, and sink. Okay, source, channel, and sink. This source is going to pull the data from external sources, and channel we know intermediate storage, and final target location will be specified by using this sink, channel to sink target finally. Okay, now coming to Kafka, it's very simple. Kafka, so this is called as a, here we use something called as producer. Here we use something called as producer to pull the data from external servers or external sources. Here we use source. Here we call as a concept, like a term called as producer here. And to pull the data from channels, to write the data into channels. So we are using here intermediate storage as a channel. Here we call it as a Kafka cluster. Kafka cluster. And this is where the data is going to be stored. So producer will pull the data from external sources and it writes into Kafka cluster. Okay, Kafka cluster. And if we want to read the data to some HDFS or some, it may be RDBMS or it can be anything. It can be an application or it can be a storage system. It can be an app also. It can be some Spark application or it can be some Flume application or it can be some storage system or it can be some HDFS or RDBMS or it can be anything. Okay, so storing the data, writing the data into Kafka cluster, who is going to that? A process called as producer will do that. And to write the data, to read the data from it. This is what, this is for writing the data. This producer is for writing the data into Kafka cluster. Okay, and this is for reading the data and reading from Kafka cluster and writing into the respective applications or storage systems. It can be NoSQL also, it can be any storage system. Reading, for reading, a process will be used. This is called as a consumer. We have to use consumer. So a consumer has to be designed to pull the data from this Kafka cluster, that is to read the data from the Kafka cluster. And a producer has to be designed to write the data into this Kafka cluster. That's very simple. So we can compare here, as all corresponding to Flume channel, here we'll have a cluster, and the sink, instead of sink we'll have what, consumer here. Source, producer, channel, Kafka cluster, sink, consumer. And finally sink is going to write the end target, the same thing. These are all the targets, right? These are all the targets. This is very simple. Producer, consumer, source, channel, and sink. Channel, in the place of channel, going to have a Kafka cluster. Is it clear? Any doubts in this? Just a very, a very basic comparison between Flume and Kafka. Now let us get into this details of this Kafka now. Kafka. So producer, consumer, and producer, consumer, and in between we have Kafka cluster. So when we say cluster, what is the meaning of it? What is the meaning of it? So producer is writing the data into Kafka cluster. There's nothing but, so obviously cluster in the sense it is a network of machines. It is a network. So multiple machines, multiple nodes, or multiple servers. So they must be connected in a network. Obviously cluster is nothing but it must be a network. Basically it is a network. So Kafka cluster or network. So what is that process that will run in Kafka cluster, and how that cluster will be maintained? What is the mechanism? Whether it is fault tolerant, it is reliable, flexible, or we shall try to understand about this now. This Kafka cluster is this Kafka cluster is fault tolerant, scalable, that is scaling up, scaling down. Both supports both scaling up, scaling down. Security security can be provided to this cluster. That is the thing. Fault tolerant, scalable, and flexible, more flexible. Our flexible comes under with scalable only. Flexible we can use what called as reliable storage system. Okay, and main thing is distributed. These are distributed storage system. What do you mean by distributed storage system? What do you mean by distributed storage system? Distributed storage. Okay. Is HDFS a distributed storage system? HDFS.
Yes.
Okay. So let us talk about HDFS cluster. So HDFS cluster is again, it is also fault tolerant. It is also scalable. That is scale up, scaling down can be done with this. It is also security. Security can be provided secure this cluster, and flexible and everything. Flexible, reliable, whatever the terms that we have used for Kafka, everything forms here, and distributed. And HDFS, where the data will be stored in memory or in the disk, the data will be stored in HDFS, whether in memory or in the disk.
Disk.
Disk only, right? That is stored in the disk. Here also the data is stored in disk only. In the disk. That's it. So everything, whatever we have here. So how fault tolerance can be achieved? How fault tolerance can be achieved in HDFS, Hadoop Distributed File System? What is my fault tolerance? If any node goes down in HDFS, if any node goes down, we are going to lose the data, right? Obviously, the data is going to be lost, but the data should not be lost. Data should be there. So how about that can be distributed? Distributed, that's fine. But if you lose the data, how come we say that data cannot be lost in HDFS?
Due to default, I mean to say, backup kind of like default replications will be there
Yes,
in HDFS.
replication of data. Okay, so this replication is going to make this HDFS to be fault tolerant. Similarly, this Kafka is also fault tolerant with replication only. So whatever the features that HDFS has with respect to storage, the same features we can have with Kafka also. Everything. So you can see here, whatever we have with this, everything we can have. And how many replications we can have here? We can have in a by default 3. Replications will be by default 3, minimum 1, and maximum we can go up to how many? 512. Okay, 512 max. Okay. The same thing in case of Kafka also, we can have any number of replications. That depends on us. That depends upon us. Okay, we can go with one replication. Maximum we can go with. They did not define the max of replications. We can go any that we are in need of. Okay, so when you compare the features here, almost all the features that were in HDFS and Kafka are same. So HDFS is highly preferable storage system. Even so, Kafka is also a preferable storage system. But what is the difference between these two? There is some difference. Coming to the features, they are same, but coming to the type of data that they handle is will be different. The type of data they handle is totally different, when you compare with Kafka and HDFS. HDFS is very, very advanced in storing the data, but Kafka is designed only for certain set of applications. So the data storage will be different in case of Kafka, and it will be somewhat different in case of HDFS. So let us try to coming to these features, they are same. Now let us try to understand what is the difference between the data formats in HDFS and in Kafka. So in HDFS, the data is stored in the form of what? Directories, and in the directory they'll have files. Those are the files. So ultimately we can say the data is stored in the form of file. That is, as it is a file system, compulsory the data must be stored in files. So the data will be stored in text to files, isn't it? And binary files also. What about binary files? The sequence files, Avro files, Parquet files, ORC files, RC files, all these come under what? Binary files. Okay. And compressed files, compressed or non-compressed. Okay. And these files get divided into what? Blocks. Isn't it? The file gets divided into blocks, and these are the block. These blocks are going to be distributed among the nodes. So a file is gets divided into blocks, and these blocks are going to they distributed into the nodes in the cluster. So SDFS can have data, the files, text to files, or it can have binary files, compressed sequence, compressed, non-compressed at the same time, structured files, semi-structured files, unstructured files. Okay, this is what the data is that is going to be stored in SDFS. These are different types of formats and storage, the storage style here. Okay, now coming to Kafka. Here, the data is stored in the not in the form of directories. We don't have any concept of directories or files here. Here we have the concept of topics. The data is stored in the form of topics, and these topics gets divided as partitions. Okay, so in SDFS, file gets divided as blocks, and in Kafka the topic gets divided as partitions. So these partitions will be distributed among the nodes in the cluster, and these blocks in here, the nodes blocks will be distributed among the nodes in the cluster. Here partitions will be distributed among the nodes in the cluster. Topic is a topic. Now coming to the type of files here. Different types of files and storage formats. So Kafka doesn't have any some storage formats. Everything it is going to store in the form of messages. So the topic contains, what does the topic is some storage object, and it is going to contain only messages. That's it. What is that we have in Kafka? What is the data or format of data that we can have in Kafka? That is, we can have topics, and these topics get divided as partitions. So topic is a collection of what? Messages, simply messages. That's it. So there's no concept of binary files, compressed files, nothing will be there. We'll have only messages. That's it. A topic is a collection of messages. What is a partition? Partition is also a collection of messages, but it is a part of the topic. That's it. Whereas it is a sub part of the topic and message. That's it. A topic or a partition, it is solely consisting of what? It consists of only messages. And here a file consists of what here? In case of file, what does it consist of? It consists of what? Records. Isn't it? A file consists of records, and blocks also consists of records. And what are those records? Those records can be structured records, semi-structured records, or unstructured records. Okay, the records can be structured, semi-structured, or unstructured records. But coming to the messages, there will not be structured messages, unstructured messages. They're only messages. That's it. Only messages. And what is the format of those messages? Is simply key and value format will be used for the messages. Okay. In case of Flume, what is the data that is going to be stored? That is going to be treated in Flume application. That is the form of an event, Flume event. And in Kafka, those records, whatever the record the Kafka application is reading, it is going to read the data in the form of messages, and where the format of each message will be like this. That is key and value. Let us try to understand what is key and what is value. But a message, what is a message? A message is made up of two fields. First field is key, a second field is value. An ordered pair. A pair, we can say it is a pair. Key value pair. It is a key value pair. Got it now? So we don't have any concept of binary files, compressed files, structure, semi-structure. We'll have only messages. That's it. Nothing there, only messages. Got it? Got this point here? So features wise, there won't be any difference. But coming to data storage, the data style or data format, there is huge difference between Kafka and HDFS. So a Flume application, let us say the Flume application. So it is reading some log from some storage system. It is a log or whatever it may be. Now, what is these logs or records are getting converted as created as what? Flume events. Events. Flume event is combination of what? Header part and body part. Header and body. Okay. So whatever the type of record, where it is text record or JSON record or XML record, whatever the type of record the Flume application is reading from external source, it will be converted into what? Created as what? A event, a Flume event. And that event is made up of two fields, header and body. That's it. It doesn't care whether the record is flat text file or anything. It is going to simply create an event out of every record. Exactly similarly here in case of Kafka. So Kafka is reading the data from external source. So who is doing that? Producer. Okay, whether it is JSON record, whether it is XML record, whether it is text record, whatever the record, it will be created as a message, key and value. Got it now here? So it is JSON record. Let's say if it is JSON record, JSON 1 record, JSON 2 record, JSON 3 record. So it is receiving the data in the form of JSON records. So correspond to every JSON record, a key value pair will be created. And this is called as a message. This we are calling it as a message. Message, and this is also a message. So in Flume, this is called as an event. Each record will be converted as an event, created as an event. In Kafka, each message or each records or not message, each record will be created as a message. What is a message? A message has a format of key and value. Got it now? Now can you tell me in this Flume application, between header part and body part, which part is going to contain the actual data of the record? Header part or body part? Body part, exactly. This is going to contain the actual data. Okay, exactly. Similarly, here the value part will contain the data. I will tell you what is the key is. Okay, don't worry about this key. The actual data will be maintained by this. What will be stored as key in the message. This key is different. The key value is different here. Key doesn't store the schema of this one, but header will contain the schema, but here it doesn't store any schema here. It is different, something different. I will show you that what is the case different. Okay, it will store actually offset. The store keys will store some information that is called as an offset, and actual data of this JSON object, a JSON record or XML record or any text record, that will be loaded into, that will be created as a value of that message. Got it now? Okay, so what is the value in a Kafka messages? If it is a JSON record, it would be JSON record. It will be JSON. If it is a XML record, XML record. If it is a text record, text record. If it is some CSV record, CSV record. That's it. Very simple. Got it? No. So the data is loaded into this Kafka. This is a Kafka cluster. So obviously, when we talk about a cluster, some machine nodes will have some nodes here. Is a cluster, right? So some nodes has to be there in the cluster, and they'll be connected with the network. That's for sure. Right. The data is being written into this Kafka cluster. Who is going to do that? A process called as producer. Producer has to write the data into this Kafka in the form of what? Topics. Into topics here. Okay? We are going to have topics in this. Now, what process has to run in all these servers? So in HDFS, let's say if it is some HDFS cluster. So in the nodes, what are the processes that will run inside HDFS nodes? I am asking the services, I can say the services or daemons.
There are name like data nodes, right?
Yeah, data node, secondary name. So Zookeeper will be there, but I'm asking inside this servers, name node, data nodes, and secondary name node. So name node and secondary name node, uh, they are master daemons, and data nodes are the slave daemons or worker daemons, isn't it? So we'll have here, what is that? Name node, secondary name node, and data node. Okay, so these two are the master daemons and this is the slave. So in all the slave nodes, so we'll have only one or two master nodes or servers, remaining all the nodes will be worker nodes, only slave nodes. So we'll have most of the, in all the node, maximum of the nodes will have the data nodes now. So it is, the architecture is master slave architecture here, master slave architecture, isn't it? Master slave architecture. Okay, and in case of Kafka, only one process will run, only one daemon will run all the nodes, only one daemon. We don't have a name node, second name node run, only one daemon will run here, only one, only one daemon or service. That is called as Kafka broker or server. That is called as Kafka broker or server. That's it, very simple. So in these nodes, we run data nodes, data node, data node. In all the worker nodes, we'll have data nodes. In this, all the nodes, we are going to run, we run only only one process at a time, that is called as broker or server. Very simple. Broker 1, let us say broker 1, broker 2, broker 3, broker 4, something like broker 5. That's it. No other daemon will run. Only one. Broker, or we also call it as server. Kafka server or Kafka broker. That's it. Very simple. So the internal storage will be easy, very simple, and the number of daemons that run in Kafka is only one. When HDFS, we run there three, and the architecture used in HDFS is master slave, and here we don't have any master. We don't have any master. No, we don't have any master process and slave daemon, master daemons or slave daemons here. We have only one daemon, that is Kafka broker. Then how do they communicate, and how they maintain the data? So further, some architecture has to be defined for it. Like we have master slave architecture in HDFS, some architecture has to be defined for this Kafka also. So who is going to maintain the data, and who is saving the data? Everything that we have to understand. Okay, here the concept will be leader and follower. Leader and follower. There is no concept of master and slave here. We'll have leader and followers. Leaders and followers. This is what we have in Kafka. Leaders and followers. So what is this leader and what is this follower? That is, every, I'm telling you, every broker or server, every broker or server will act as a leader and a follower, at least as a leader or as a follower. Okay, at least as a leader or as a follower. It can act as both. It can act as both, or it can act as either leader as a follower, or both as a leader as a follower. It can do all this. Clear? Okay, this is a base. I will try to show you how this will be created, how that will be done in practical. I will show it clearly, but understand this basic point here. Only one daemon, that is Kafka broker or server, and the only leader and follows the concept of, and there is no master slave architecture. That's, try to understand this point. Okay, now coming to this.
Karnakar, in general, do we have multi-broker cluster as well?
This is multi-broker only, right?
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. So in multi-broker, for each broker, like we'll be having partitions, right?
This partition, not
Okay.
for the broker, for the topic.
And within the broker, like we'll be having topics, right?
Yes, we'll have topics.
And these topics will be stored
The form
in
of
partitions,
partition.
in terms of partitions.
Exactly. So here we
Okay.
have data nodes, right? Data nodes, they are going to have blocks. They are going to have blocks. Similarly, brokers, see in this brokers, yes, in synchronization only. This is brokers. These brokers are going to have partitions. Brokers are going to maintain the partitions. So with replication also. Okay, let me explain that in the just now. Okay, so all these are the partitions. Here we have the blocks. Here we have the partitions. The blocks make a file. The partitions make a topic here. Okay, that's what we have to understand. B1, B2, B3, B4, and B5. Now, coming to HDFS, how many data nodes we can run in a node? This is very important again. How many data nodes, how many data node daemons we can run in a single server or single node? How many data nodes we can run in a single node or server in HDFS? Can we have more than one data node daemons in one HDFS server or not?
Yes, it should be multiple, right?
I'm not asking about the cluster. I'm not about the HDFS cluster. I'm asking about only
Mm-hmm.
single node. Single node. If we have 10 node,
Uh,
if you have 10 node cluster,
so like yeah. So it's single node cluster, like one node itself will act as a name node. That same name node will act as a data node as well.
that's okay. I'm telling you here. Here we have, let's say we have a cluster of 10 nodes are there. Let's say we have a cluster of 10 nodes. Okay. Out of 10 nodes, one node we have dedicated for only masters and remaining 9 nodes for the slaves. Okay. Now, you got my point here now. Okay. One node for masters and the remaining 9 nodes for the slaves. Now, can you tell me how many data node demands can run in 9 slave nodes? How many? 9 or more than 9 or less than 9? What?
Nine.
Exactly 9. Okay. So one data node daemon has to run in one slave node, isn't it? Got to point my point here. Okay. One data node daemon has to run in one server or node. Okay. Server or node in the cluster. That is strict. That is the point. And that is the statement that we can give in HDFS. Now, when we come to Kafka here, this is some node. This is one node, third node, or server. Kafka. Physical server. I'm talking about physical server, not Kafka server. Physical server. Okay. This is node, the machine. Now, in this single node, we can have multiple brokers. We can have multiple brokers. So, in HDFS, if we have a node, a worker node, we can have only one data node daemon to run in one node. But in case of Kafka, in a single node, we can have any number of brokers or servers. That depends upon our interest. Whether to go with only one broker or two brokers or three or four, that depends upon us. That we have to configure. But there is a flexibility that we can have, and we can have multiple brokers or servers in Kafka cluster, that is in each node. Okay, then each node we can have multiple brokers or servers. Got my point here? This is the one more difference between HDFS cluster and this Kafka cluster. I think this point is clear now. So how many demands for data node runs in HDFS? In each node. In each node, only one data node demand. In Kafka, multiple demands of brokers, multiple demands of brokers can run in single node. In case of Kafka allows that, but HDFS doesn't allow multiple data nodes to be there in a single node. Is it fine? So if you have a single node cluster, Hadoop single node cluster will have only exactly one data node, one name node, and one secondary name node, isn't it? Exactly one data node. We can't have more than one data node in a single node cluster. But in Kafka, even though if we have a single node, one node, we can set up multiple brokers in it. We can have multiple brokers in it. Got the point here? So let me conclude this point. That is, in HDFS, one physical node, this physical node, okay, one physical node, only one data node daemon. It is a daemon, okay. It is a process name, data node. In Kafka, one physical node, this is one physical node. In this we can have one or more brokers or servers. one or more brokers or servers. There's a difference. That's very simple. So the number of nodes, if we have hundreds of slave nodes, only 100 data nodes. But we have 100 physical nodes here. We can have more than 100 brokers or servers. Got it? This is the basic difference between again HDFS and Kafka storages. Is it fine now? No. Let me summarize this finally. So we require a producer here in Kafka to write the data into it, into Kafka cluster. So a Kafka cluster is made up of what? Kafka brokers. Okay, brokers. Got it now? And we are going to have consumer here to pull the data from the Kafka brokers. Okay, and finally the data will return into the targets. This is source, this is from the source, and this is the into the target, and producers, consumers, all they are going to come in between. This forms the Kafka, actually total entire Kafka. Okay, and this entire Kafka is going to be maintained by one more daemon that is called as Zookeeper. The entire Kafka is going to be maintained or going to be monitored or maintained by a daemon called as Zookeeper. So entire cluster, if it is some HDFS Hadoop cluster or HBase cluster or Spark cluster or any cluster in big data. So if it is any Hadoop or Spark or Yarn cluster, or Hadoop in the sense it comes, Yarn cluster also comes under Hadoop only. Hadoop cluster or Spark cluster or HBase cluster or Cassandra cluster or any cluster in big data environment. So big data environment clusters are being monitored by the Zookeeper. Remember that Zookeeper is a coordinator daemon which always monitors the processes or the daemons running in one cluster, and it tries to manage them. It looks after them. We can't maintain the cluster manually. No, we can't maintain or we cannot monitor whether all the demands are running or not, and that can't be done manually. So that is the reason we uh, you know delegate a particular daemon that's called as a Zookeeper, which will monitor the entire cluster. So what are all the daemons that are running inside the cluster, whether they are working properly or not, if there is any issue. So everything that is going to be handled by this Zookeeper. Got it now? So similarly for Kafka cluster also, a Zookeeper is needed. So producer, consumer, and these brokers. Got it now? So here Zookeeper is identified. This is the daemon. Okay, this is a daemon compulsory. It must run at some port number. So the default port number of Zookeeper will be, remember these port numbers, 2181. I'm telling the default port number at which the Zookeeper daemon runs is 2181. Okay, similarly for every broker, let us say we have 3 to 4 brokers, b1, b2, b3 and b4. Each broker must be uniquely identified with a combination of host name and port number. So host name and port number. So a broker is uniquely identified with host name and port number. Remember this. And Zookeeper is also identified with some host name and port number. But default port number will be equal to 2181. There are no default values for brokers. We have to set the port numbers. So we have to set the port numbers for this. And there is no, for producer and consumer, no ports are created. They will be created dynamically. So we don't have any fixed port numbers for consumer and producer. We'll see them in practically. When you see in practical, we understand everything about this. But before that, just remember about the port numbers and how these daemons are identified in the cluster. So mainly about the Zookeeper and about this brokers. Why? Because we are going to use in the operations very extensively. Brokers, Zookeeper we don't use that much extensively, but once it is started, that's fine. But we deal with these brokers a lot. Fine. Is it clear? Any questions in this, please?
So for Kafka, the producer might be anything, right? So it can be either RabbitMQ or either uh, Golden Gate, any of the server like which will have the producer API can act as a producer, right?
Yes. We have to develop an application. Application in the sense a program by
Yeah,
producer API. Producer
yeah.
API will provide to us by using that API. No, by using producer API, it can pull the data from. We can design a producer to pull the data from any source, any
Okay. When it comes to consumer, here another API will comes in picture,
yes, consumer API.
but yeah. So here, let's say if we are integrating Kafka with Spark,
Mm.
so here the Spark streaming application will be the consumer, right?
Yes, exactly, exactly. The Spark
Okay.
application itself will become the consumer. That's it, very simple. Okay, there's a consumer API. There's nothing but we have to use consumer API to pull the data from it. So if it is an application, so this target can be a storage system, right? It can be a storage system or it can be an application. That's what I told you. It can be a storage system or it is, let us say, if it is an HDFS. Let us say if it is some Spark app, it is some Flume app, or it is some RDBMS or NoSQL. It can be anything. So what do we use here? So the Spark application itself will become the consumer here. The Flume application itself will become the consumer. But when we are trying to go with HDFS will not become the consumer here. Instead, we need to create a separate consumer by using consumer API, and this is called as for RDBMS also we use consumer API to write the data into RDBMS. To we need to develop a consumer program to write the data into RDBMS to write the data into HDFS by using consumer API. So to create this producer API called as producer API is used. API in the sense set of transformations and actions. Okay, API is nothing but set of operations. What are set of operations we perform? Those operations are available, are already provided as API ready-made functions, ready-made classes and methods. In consumer also it has an API called as consumer API. Okay, so in order to develop a producer, we have to use producer API. In order to develop a consumer, we can use consumer API. Got it? Let me explain one more thing here. This is Kafka cluster. It's a Kafka cluster. So producer and consumer, producer and consumer. So for this we use here producer API. To develop producer we need producer API, and to develop consumers we use consumer API. So what is the duty of these producers? Only to write the data into this Kafka cluster. And what is the duty of these consumers? To pull the data from the Kafka cluster, that is from the Kafka topics. And can we do the processing of data in Kafka cluster? Is it possible? Is it possible? Yes, that is possible. See, what are the data we have in Kafka cluster? The data can be processed. Remember, the data can be processed. We can do processing also. Complex processing can be done. So Kafka can do processing of data also. Yes, it can do. But Flume cannot do the processing. But Kafka can do the processing of data also on its own, without having any Spark or MapReduce or anything. So directly it can process the data also. Okay, so it can do not just a simple processing, simple operations. It can do complex operations also. Okay, so for that one more API is provided, that is called as streaming API, and they call as streaming API. Remember this. So what is streaming API? It is a set of operations that are provided to perform the operations on Kafka topics. Alright, that is nothing partitions, right? So we perform the operations at topic level, that internally the operations will be operated on the partitions. So Kafka topics can be processed, the data in Kafka topics can be processed by using streaming API. So we don't require any Spark or anything, but the streaming API will read the data from the Kafka topic one, let us say, and it will write the data into another topic, which is called as something called as T2. So it won't send the data to anything outside it. It reads from topic and writes to another topic in the same cluster, Kafka cluster. So consumer can read from any topic. After process, let's say that producer has written the data into one topic, let us say T1. And by using streaming API, the data got processed and the result is stored into another topic. And from this topic, Kafka consumer can read and write the data to any other storage system or any other application. That can be done. So Kafka has the capability of not just to pulling the data from external sources and preserving it, it has the capability of processing the data also. If for our application, if we don't require this heavy application, we require a small application to just to pull the data from some source, then we may use Flume. Okay, is it clear? But Flume is not used in industry now. Most of the industries are going towards this Kafka. So they are trying to use Kafka, and still they are using some streaming components, like along with Kafka they are using some Samza, Storm. All these are stream processing components like Kafka, Samza, Storm. I think one more is a Flink. Yes, these are all the some streaming or stream processing components.